we all say man up or like, you know, be a man, but no man actually knows what it means.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't define it to you.
Way ho, my name is Rosie and I live in Brussels. I'm making this podcast for VUB. For a long time I've been wondering, why can't all genders be treated equally? Why is mental health such a hot topic today? And what can arts do to specific people and communities? These and thousands of other questions have been wading through my mind. Through education and research for their project The World Needs You, VUB, Vrije Universiteit Brussel, makes the world a better place. And that's why I get the chance to talk to engaged youngsters, professors, and scientists that know just a little bit more about the topic than I do. This is Rebels with a Cause. This episode is all about mental health and more specifically about how society can push us in specific roles and expectations. I noticed that lately it has become a hot topic to talk about, and I want to know why. Thankfully, there's plenty of mental health influencers, blogs, books, or apps out there to support you. Moreover, therapy has become a more or less normalized phenomenon, and students can often go to a campus psychologist or a mental health service. Clearly, it's becoming less and less of a taboo to take care of your mental health, and I'm all here for it. In this episode, I talk with multidisciplinary artist Kriticos about his view on mental health. Kriticos is a musician and book club host living in Leuven. His roots lie in the Bambachega tribe, which makes him half Zambian and half Tanzanian. As an artist, he makes music and writes poetry, while at the same time combining jobs and studying. Busy life. A while ago, he got to recite a poem about the importance of mental health in the European Parliament in front of 150 young leaders and community shapers from all across Europe. For this occasion, he wore a burgundy handmade traditional outfit, a color that they're not used to see in the Grey Parliament, I'm sure. So good move, Kriticos. Today we'll mostly talk about the book clubs he organizes. During these book clubs, people come together and discuss a specific book or related topic. The cool thing is, you don't even have to have read the book to attend. People can just talk freely about what they think and what they feel and inspire each other. Speaking of a mental boost, Michelle Obama's Becoming or The Power of Now of Eckhart Tolle are two of the many discussed books so far. Now, before we dive in, I wanted to share a small disclaimer. We recorded at Poulartplein, which is in the city center of Brussels, so you'll hear some background noise. To calm down, we started the podcast with a breathing exercise. I invite you to join us.
So we're gonna breathe in and out 3 times. Hold it. Okay?
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. It's the last one. Okay. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out.
It even works better if you sit down, cross-legged, eyes closed. If you really concentrate, you don't even hear the people, cars, or noise in the background anymore. This exercise made us more than ready for our conversation. I described Kriticos as a multidisciplinary artist, but this is how he described himself.
I do a lot of things, book clubs, music. I just like to describe myself as a human that's trying to do as much as I can before I die. Mm-hmm. Breathing is super important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's, like you said, it's really calming.
Yeah.
And then
and focusing on it makes you more connected to the moment.
Exactly.
Also in the power of now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's very important to be now, just be. To forget about everything else that's going on, you know?
True. And you were also saying in that poem you want people to accept that they're great, embrace also the fact that you can feel down and that's part of feeling great as well.
Yeah.
When did you struggle with your mental health and how do you?
When I was working as an intern, you know, sometimes you don't really make ends meet. I had like 5 years in my pocket and I had to like stretch it for 2 weeks sometimes. And you get like really low in your self-esteem and just like mentally. And so what I did was I would put on that same outfit that I was wearing at the European Parliament. And I'd stand in front of the mirror and I'd talk to myself like, yo, you're great, you're amazing, you're destined to do great things. And I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but.
Could you elaborate on the outfit as well? Like on the.
Oh yeah, it's a handmade outfit, custom made. My mom made me wear it for Easter in Tanzania. So when I was in Tanzania visiting my mom, she was like, yeah, we need to get your outfit for Easter. And so she got her friends to make it for me, and yeah, I've been wearing it ever since.
It's a way of expressing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to my roots.
Yeah. Okay.
As a Bemba Chaga.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it came from a place deep.
Yeah. So I stand in front of the mirror. I used to stand in front of the mirror and basically wear the outfit because it makes me feel very empowered and brings me close to home. And I'll tell myself things like, yo, like, you're gonna be amazing. You're gonna do great. You're a great person. Like, you're destined for amazing things. You know,
You
God
manifest
is guiding you and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. And so when they asked me for that, I would immediately, like, they were like, yeah, motivate the youth. I immediately thought of when I needed the motivation, and I did it to myself. And so I just turned that into a poem. And I thought it was symbolic to wear that same outfit, you know?
Wearing clothes that make you feel most confident is really important to me. It's a way of expressing yourself and differentiating yourself from others. Also the way you style your clothes, your energy, your confidence, it really puts you out there. This often works for me to make me feel better, but there's many other ways. The workshops of VUB, for example, about different topics such as worrying or fear of failure, are some of the many initiatives that help you change your mindset. I had a call with Professor Imke Baetens about her research on mental health. I asked her what she thinks about the fact that it's becoming less and less of a taboo.
Absolutely. So I think it's great that there's more talk about it, that people are more reflective about it, that there's less taboo and stigma, that people who suffer mental health issues feel less an outcast or isolated or strange. So I think that's excellent that there's more talk about it.
Why are people talking about it more in the first place?
I guess we live in a relative safe environment with relative economic stability. We have a lot of prosperity, and we also have like time and the means to be able to reflect on our emotions. It would be different if you live in a war, for example, or if you're very significantly ill. It's far less evident to be in touch with your emotions.
So would you say it takes privilege to be in touch with your emotions?
Maybe you can say it like that, yeah.
I try to remind myself every day how privileged I am. You can't take it for granted. Living in Brussels, having friends and family, having insurance, food, a bed, being able to travel, to study, and to work. All these conditions allow me the headspace to reflect on my mental health from time to time and maintain my inner balance.
I have been following you for a while now, and I saw that the last few months and the last year were quite productive, I think. Maybe, I mean, you've like, considering your music, considering your projects, considering your book clubs, your speeches in the European Parliament recently, could you tell me how was this past year for you, just in general? Like?
Wow. It was very transformative. Like, a lot of things changed. My internship ended, and then I came back to Belgium. I had to graduate. I haven't graduated yet. I failed my exam.
Statistics.
Statistics, man. But I really started the book club concept in Amsterdam. I really took it off over there, and it got really appreciated over there. And I brought it back to Belgium. I started pitching out to different companies if I could do it there.
Why are they so valuable to you, those book clubs?
Because I learned from them personally, and my main thing is like that people need to think for themselves. And so when you come to the book club, people express their stories, express their perspectives, and you know, other people that might not think that way, listen to them and actually like have a really good exchange. And to see that is really beautiful, especially to see people that look like me, younger people as well, talk about books. People don't really talk about the books these days, or read. So yeah, and the way I like managed to bridge those gaps is by making a concept of a book club that you don't have to read the book for. So it's very accessible. Yeah,
to slow people down maybe as well for a moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're always free, so it's very adamant about it being free for the people.
Yeah.
So you know, because knowledge is supposed to be free, I believe. Yeah.
True. And what books are we talking about then?
We've talked about Americana, All About Love, The Four Agreements, The Power of Now.
Michelle Obama as well.
Yeah, Becoming. Yeah. And yeah, I think one of Michelle Obama, we talked about it with like a bunch of younger Black women. And it was really powerful to see them talk about how they want to become, you know, a bigger version of themselves and their process of becoming, and how comfortable they are with their situation now, knowing that there's a future ahead. Yeah, it's really, it goes in a lot of places. One day I want to do a book club about like masculinity with just men, and then, you know, it's a really cool concept.
Deconstruct it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that we value really well.
Yeah. Being a man in today's society and showing vulnerability and showing your emotions and feeling comfortable with that is not always easy.
Yeah.
How elaborate on that for yourself, maybe?
Right now I'm reading The Will to Change by Bell Hooks, which talks about man, masculinity, and love. And it talks about how like men aren't allowed to feel things, aren't allowed to be down, aren't allowed to be, they're not given the space to be that. Because we're, I don't know, the world just doesn't allow
gender
it for us.
norms, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the downside of patriarchy for men.
Yeah, that's what the book talks about completely. And so I'm trying to like really bring that conversation to the men in my life, especially the men that, you know, I guess shape the culture and add to the culture, because they have a voice and they have a perspective that people would listen to it and stuff. And so I'm going to host a book club session or a conversation about masculinity, and just ask questions like what it means to be a man to you. Where did you learn that? Who do you go to when you're feeling down?
Who's your role model?
Those stuff, because we don't have those conversations.
Yeah, and make them aware about the subjective sides of it as well. Is that also the goal?
Yeah, because we all say man up or like, you know, be a man, but no man actually knows what it means. Yeah. You know, I couldn't define it to you.
It's a non-productive thing to say.
Literally, but it's everybody says it, and we all have the concept of what a man is, but we don't actually have a concept.
Yeah. What does being a man mean to you?
Being a man means standing by what you value most and doing things that you value most, I guess, and being true to your word. Yeah, but I feel like those same. It's
being a good person, actually.
It's being a good person. Yeah. Being, I don't know, man. Just having a dick. But some people are, you know, got a penis and they're not men.
True.
So I don't know.
You told me nothing makes you a man other than choosing to be a man.
Those
were your words.
Yeah, that was a year ago. That's
I
crazy.
remember that one, and that you should wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah. I feel like any person that chooses to do that is very respectable.
That's some free life lessons right there. It's all about being a good person, regardless of your gender. Amazing how Kriticos makes room for these thoughts during these book clubs. Way to go, Kriticos. If you study the Master Gender and Diversity at VUB, you can actually deep dive in these topics like gender, diversity, or intersectionality. Although we strive to have equality between all genders, it's scientifically proven that it's more difficult to talk about mental well-being for men in society. The patriarchy, we're a victim of it all, sounds like a good thesis subject to me. I also asked Imke about the difference between men and women in showing their vulnerability.
So if you see at the prevalence rates and numbers, men suffer equally as much as women, but it's less, it's more stigmatized for men. Men are significantly less likely to seek professional help when they suffer mental health issues. So it's great that there's people like Kriticos who advocate also for the mental health for men. I think the most important thing is that it's an evolutional and societal phenomenon where boys, even from very young age onwards, are taught to not show their emotions, are taught to be not vulnerable, to be taught to
suppress them,
suppress their feelings. Even if I go to the soccer matches of my youngest son and they're hurt and they start crying, they're like, all the parents on the sideline are, don't be a pussy, and don't cry, and you should be strong. And
boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. Boys are strong. So I think it's a societal phenomenon in our education of boys.
Because they do cry.
Of course, everybody cries.
It's healthy. Yeah. What do you think about like therapy? And like a friend of mine doesn't believe in therapy because he he doesn't think they understand him because nobody understands his situation and nobody lived his life. And I was like, maybe you should find someone who has the same background, who has the same culture. Do you think that would be better? Or
I think it has to do a lot with trust, that you can trust somebody and also trust your therapist. And the most crucial thing is that you find like a click. I always tell my clients, like, we will have a first conversation and then afterwards you will go home and you don't have to answer me right away, but I want you to think about it because I find it very important that you have the feeling like, okay, I can trust her, or I do want to tell my story to her. If you have the feeling like, I don't want to tell this therapist anything about my life, I don't trust him or her, or she can never understand me, therapy won't work.
So yeah, therapy is one way, one crucial way. But there is also, for example, breathing exercises that could be helpful, is what Kriticos said. What do you think about breathing exercises?
I think for some people it can be very helpful, not all. It's a little bit depending on who you are as a person. I become very stressed if I do mindfulness exercises myself.
You become stressful?
I become stressed if I have to look at the raisin and try to be in the moment. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. It's your brain that is
overthinking, and already thinking like what I have to do next, and so this is how my mind works. But I get relaxed by walking in the forest with the dog. So I think you have to find your way to de-stress your body and mind and to really relax your nervous system. And mindfulness and breathing exercises are great, and they're very easy accessible for a lot of people. You have like the Calm app, it's free, it's very easy accessible, so definitely try it. It helps for a lot of people, but maybe not everybody.
Could be journaling as well. It could be sports, arts, music. Yeah. And so also there's, for everybody, it's crucial to have like a routine and a rhythm and to try to take care of your body and mind. And this is really important to have some exercise. There's a lot of studies that show a very narrow association between how you feel and if you work out or do like small exercises. Especially just walking in nature is very healing for your body and your mind. And taking good care of yourself by having healthy foods. There's very clear connections. By eating crappy fast food, you will feel more depressive symptoms, more anxiety, and these feelings will make you crave more carbs, more sugar. So it's a vicious circle. So try to break that circle and try to eat healthy and have a good gut health, which is super important. And then journaling, there's a very big study from Harvard University from Jill Hooley, who showed that journaling, just purely journaling, is a very positive effect. If you don't trust anybody from your friends or a therapist, journaling is a very good way to try to manage your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts. It does.
So and even more positive would be if you do like the exercise to think about 3 positive things a day. Which have been proven effective for a lot of anxiety and depressive and negative feelings. Just every day write up 3 things that were positive or were you grateful about, and it really has a beneficial effect on how you feel.
Okay, I'm gonna try that for sure. Therapy, as Imke said, can be crucial for some people to keep your mental health in shape. Now, as it's not easy to find a therapist that actually matches your needs and that is affordable, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that VUB also has a campus psychologist students can go to. This can help with your daily worries, but also for more serious issues such as self-mutilation, a topic I also discussed with Kriticos during our talk at Poulardplein.
Do you have any men in your surroundings that suffered from like self-mutilation or harmed themselves or committed suicide or anything?
Yeah, I've lost a few friends to suicide. I was young too. I've lost a few friends to suicide. Self-mutilation, I've never really I guess we never really talked about it, so I don't know. But I've lost a few guys to suicide, and it's hard.
And do you think that is partially because they didn't feel comfortable talking about what's going wrong?
I don't know. Because it was every single person that I've lost to suicide was like, it was sudden. It was like, oh my gosh, they like, you know, they seemed okay. And so I don't know. Most likely would have been like they just didn't have an escape or they just felt lost. But you never know, you know. How do you
experience that, and do you feel like maybe I should see the signs better next time, or do you try to create more of a safe space for your friends, or how do you
trying to like understand if someone's gonna kill themselves? I don't know. Hopefully the book club helps, because a lot of people leave the book club saying that it feels like therapy, and so I end up feeling like, okay, I did something. You know, some people opened up about. There was this guy that opened up about like how he came to Europe. His parents are Asian, and his parents don't know that he's got a boyfriend. Their parents don't even know he's gay. And I feel like he opened up for the first time around all these people, and it's like, yeah, I feel safe, you know? And everybody says that it feels like a safe space. So I feel like I do somewhat of a contribution. I've seen sessions where like people open up, and the person that they know that's in the group is like, well, I didn't know that about you. And then I can't imagine what conversation would happen after the session. Like, oh, like, can't believe you did that. Or like,
you peel the layers actually of people.
And it's such a beautiful feeling.
Is that what helps you as well with your mental health, the book clubs?
Yeah, it fulfills me. It makes me feel like I'm really on God's path, like the path that I'm supposed to do. And also makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, no matter how much money I'm getting from it or whatever. It's like beautiful, you know. And I've noticed like people just end up starting to open themselves to me, even not when I'm at the book club. Like randomly, I'm having.
You told me in clubs that people come to you and you're like, "Yo, I'm struggling," and you're like, as respectfully, I don't know you.
Yeah, there's music going on, bro. I like the song. What are you doing?
Practicing self-mutilation happens more than you think and more than people dare to admit. According to a study at VUB last year, apparently about 60% of the students know somebody who is practicing self-mutilation. But because it's such a taboo topic, you often don't know it or you don't see it happening. Imke actually calls it non-suicidal self-injury, or NSSI. I asked her to explain to me what that exactly means.
So non-suicidal self-injury is that somebody deliberately or intentionally injures their own body tissue without a conscious attempt to commit suicide or anything. So there's people that use this kind of behavior, such as cutting, burning, hitting oneself, as a means to cope with emotions.
I was going to use the word self-mutilation, but I don't know if that's the right word to use. What do you think?
I usually use the term self-injury because it's like a more neutral term, opposed to self-mutilation. There might be like a kind of connotation or...
it's a bit aggressive, I must admit.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But I prefer to use the term self-injury.
How do you suggest the environment should... Like, how can you be more aware of it, and how should you approach somebody who is self-injuring themselves?
So I think if you're worried about a friend or your partner or a family member, I think it's important to start a conversation and to have like a respectful curiosity, to say like, hey, I heard an episode on our podcast about self-injury and I was thinking about you, and I'm worried about you. Is this something that you do? But try not to be like pushy, or don't overreact, don't become too anxious. Just try to be empathic, respectful, and show or say to your friend or partner that you want to be there for them, and that you want to be that you're always welcome to talk about their stories if they want to, but don't push, don't ask them to stop. If they don't want to talk about it, just leave it and then pick it up again after a few weeks and tell them, I'm still worried about you. Is there something that I can do for you, for example?
Yeah, give them some sort of responsibility as well, that you don't want to save them or that you believe in them, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you see at the prevalence rates, like the chance that you know somebody who is engaging in NSSI are pretty big. We did like a study last year with university students, and about 60% of them know somebody who is self-injuring.
So Kriticos, when I asked him if he knew people that self-injured themselves, he didn't really know friends or people around him, but he did know friends that committed suicide. I guess it's a thin line between self-harm and committing suicide, or what would you say?
So there's a high comorbidity, so they can coexist together. So the chances, if you do self-injury, you have a higher chance to also have suicidal thoughts and behaviors, and it's also a predictor in time. So if you do self-injury once in adolescence, you also have a higher risk to commit suicide or to do an attempt in adulthood, for example. So they're very much interrelated because there's some joint risk factors and mechanisms, but we do see them as separate behaviors, whereas non-suicidal self-injury is a negative coping behavior, whereas suicide or suicidal attempts are really like behaviors with the main primary focus to end one's own life, which is not the case for self-injury.
Well, damn, these are heavy topics. I'm a bit shocked that there is so many young people self-injuring. It puts things in perspective for me, and it confirms how important it is to be kind and check up on how people are actually doing. A simple yo, what's up, how you feeling, it can literally mean the world to someone. Let's get back to Kriticos. I wondered how he's able to manage his busy life and how he feels about being engaged in so many fields.
So you're involved in a lot of things, as we already said. Do you feel like sticking to one thing could improve, or doing that many things decreases credibility in a way? Because I feel that sometimes, like personally in my life as well, doing a lot of things makes it hard for people. Like, what does she actually do? Who is she?
Yeah.
You know?
I just do what I love. I introduce myself like as someone that's trying to do as much as I can before I die, because like there's too many things on the list, but I do what I love.
One thing after another.
Yeah.
And at the same time.
At the same time. But I love it, so it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it doesn't feel like work.
And did you ever experience that people were questioning, and not that you necessarily care, but that people question your credibility?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
How do you deal with that?
I don't care.
Yeah. Or you don't talk to them. You don't listen to them.
No, I just understand the bigger picture, and I understand where I see myself going. And people that demand credibility or anything, like, you just don't really understand the purpose of what I'm doing.
But do you want anything else?
Yeah, I just want to remind people that you're gonna die. That's the only certitude in this life is death. Even life isn't promised. People aren't born sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to remind people that, because that's what motivated me to do everything that I'm doing. My dad died, and he was my hero, and he was immortal in my eyes. And then when he died, I was like, oh, this actually, it's like, it doesn't discriminate anyone. Anyone can die. And that's when I decided to do everything I do. Like 2 months after my dad died, I co-organized the first ever Black Lives Matter protest.
In Brussels, yeah.
In Brussels, yeah, in Belgium, yeah. And then, I did the other one in 2020, and then I started my music career in 2016. The book club came up, and I decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Like, everything started from the moment my dad died, but that's because I realized death is certain, and I want everyone to recognize that. I hope you don't have to lose somebody for you to understand it,
And to not take your life for granted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you have to choose to do what you love, because at the end of this, you're gonna die. Whether you're doing something you love, do something you hate, you're gonna die. So you might as well enjoy your time here.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to point out that we talked about self-injury and suicide. If you want to talk to someone, in Belgium you can always call AWEL at 102. You can talk anonymously to a volunteer and talk your hearts out. This was Rebels with a Cause, a podcast from VUB. You can find all episodes on your favorite podcast channel or on YouTube. This podcast is a part of the framework The World Needs You. All information can be found on vub.be/podcast. Go check it out. My name is Rosanne Koetsier, and this podcast is a co-production by VUB and Chase.